Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06 now on O'Connor and Company on this Tuesday morning, the first day of April. It's April Fool's Day, so be on the lookout. Dumb people are going to do dumb things. Why am I such a curmudgeon about April Fool's Day? Grumpy. I'm a grumpy cat when it comes to April Fool's Day. Coming up at 8:05, Tom Bevan, Real Clear Politics on today's special elections. 8:35, Jim Jordan, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock, and joining us right now is the lone Republican from Maryland representing our state in Washington, D.C. He is Congressman Andy Harris, also Chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. Congressman Harris, thanks for joining us. Good to talk with you.
Good morning.
Before we get to the largest tax increase in Maryland history, led by the Democrats in West Moore in Annapolis, I want to talk about your efforts in Washington, D.C., most specifically with the SAVE Act. They're going to hear a lot of discussion about this act. This has to do with, you tell us, detail exactly how this is going to make our voting system more secure.
Well, what the SAVE Act does is tell states that when they register someone for a federal election, they basically have to do it in person. They have to make certain that this person has documentation that they're an American citizen, and if they do, then they can be registered for a federal election. I mean, it's just that simple. I think most Americans think that's what goes on now, but it actually isn't.
The Democrats will say, it's already illegal to register and to vote if you're not a citizen. So, what are we doing here? And they'll also say, this hardly ever happens.
Well, there are loopholes in the current federal law. You'd have to provide intent. And of course, intent is difficult to prove. So this just says, look, objectively, you have to show evidence that you're an American citizen when you register to vote. You can't do it by just signing something in the mail. You can't do it, at the DMV without having some documentation with you. And I think it's reasonable. Yeah. Once you're registered, you'll be registered for life, but you'll have shown documentation.
Congressman, I've never understood the Democrats. Well, I do understand the Democrats' objection to it. It's disingenuous. They don't really care about non-citizens voting. But their argument is always, well, listen, they're signing a disclaimer when they register. We don't have to ask for proof of citizenship because they're attesting to it when they fill out the form. That's like saying if a 12-year-old goes in to buy a six-pack of beer at the liquor store, that it's not incumbent on the liquor store to ask for ID. Well, listen, hey, he claimed he was over 21, so it's on him, right? I mean, what's the difference there?
Look, that would be like saying, look, you can apply for a passport without showing any documentation. You can apply for a real ID driver's license without showing any documentation. This is just crazy. There are plenty of accommodations. People said, well, but what if you change your name, you get married, you change your name? Well, there are accommodations for that in the SAVE Act. The bottom line is Americans expect people voting in elections, federal elections especially, to actually be United States citizens.
Representative Harris, I'm hoping you can sort of touch on this sort of record-breaking tax hike that Wes Moore has now shoved through in Maryland. And, I don't know how people continue to live in a state where so much of their income is being taken by the state. What are you hearing from constituents about this?
People are really upset. They've been upset for a year now as they opened up their vehicle registration fees and noticed that they're almost twice as high as they used to be. They're so high that shrinkflation is struck. And, the bottom line, now you only register for 1 year instead of 2. And now they actually offer a divided payment plan, because the fees are so high. The governor has bragged about lowering taxes, but in fact, he's going to raise taxes by over $1 billion. Now they're even talking about a sleep tax. I mean, you're going to have to pay an extra tax on mattresses. I mean, they will tax everything.
It's really remarkable. It's actually, I don't want to compliment them, but it's a little bit creative here. I mean, tax on sporting, betting, cannabis, vehicle titles, capital gains, of course, itemized deductions, vending purchases. So you get a soda and you get taxed on that. I mean, it's just astonishing. There's no relief for Are you worried that more people will leave the state?
I'm most worried about businesses because now, they're doing business-to-business taxes, and this is a real problem because the businesses and look, even one of the members of the General Assembly who owns a company moved it to Virginia, because the tax situation is so bad in Maryland. I mean, the bottom line is that even the Democrats realize that they're killing the goose that's laying their golden egg.
We're speaking with Congressman Andy Harris of Maryland. And Congressman Harris, I know you're very intently focused on our southern border, always have been your whole career. I'm not talking about our border, the Potomac River, and our southern border with Virginia, although that we have to keep an eye on as well. But no, of course, it's America's southern border with Mexico. And the Trump administration under Tom Homan as the border czar has effectively shut it down. Even the LA Times is admitting that it's basically empty between California and Mexico right now. But the Trump administration's actions are gaining some level of scrutiny and complaint from the left, and most specifically about their move of MS-13 gang members and Tran Aragua, I can never pronounce that properly, Venezuelan gang members to a prison in El Salvador. There's one case, a person, an El Salvadoran man named Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who calls Maryland his home, that the Trump administration in a court filing said, yeah, there was an administrative error. This guy shouldn't have been included with all of these Venezuelans that were sent down there. So they're describing him as a Maryland father, somebody that you should be like. He is, in fact, an MS-13 gang member, right? The administrative error was not that they mistook him for somebody who was just some innocent bystander. Can you shed some light on this case?
I'm just finding out about it, but apparently, again, the left is willing to say, we don't want to deport, the hundreds of Tren de Agua, truly violent. They're even more violent than MS-13. I didn't think that was possible, but they are. And look, the bottom line is that we'll look into the case, but it wasn't like he was just picked up on the street, a completely law-abiding citizen. The bottom line is that the administration promised the American people they were going to make their communities safer by getting rid of the criminals that local liberal Democrat administrators in local jurisdictions are unwilling to do, and they're doing it. And compliments to them. The other thing is, you said, look, the southern border is virtually shut down. This is, remember the liberals said a year ago, you need an action of Congress in order to do this, to stop the illegal immigration. Well, obviously you don't, because the border is completely shut down. And I guarantee you Congress did not take any action, because we don't take any action on that kind of thing ever.
Real fast in our final minute here, Wes Moore is, dominating the media here. They love him. They want to groom him for the White House. There will be no criticism of him. It seems like Republicans in Maryland have not been able to find a voice here in opposition, and I know that they're outnumbered. But there should be a clear line of attack on him and his spending. He hired 5,000 new employees in just 2 years. He inherited a surplus from Larry Hogan, and now he's in deficit. Meanwhile, his neighbor in Virginia, Governor Youngkin, continues to have a surplus and is attracting businesses. Where is the voice of Maryland Republicans, Congressman Harris?
Well, Larry Hogan himself has been speaking out recently, very active on social media, criticizing the governor. The governor, of course, blames everyone except the liberal Democrats for the fiscal problems. He blames Trump, he blames Hogan, he blames everybody. But the fact of the matter is that Larry Hogan has been setting the record straight. And remember, Larry Hogan can run for another term. He just can't run for a third consecutive term, but it wouldn't be consecutive. And I think when Governor Moore is done raising taxes by over $1 billion, they're going to have to raise taxes more next year and more the year after that, the election year. I think Larry Hogan's going to be able to make the case that, you know what, times are pretty good fiscally under Larry Hogan, and maybe you should bring him back to be governor.
You're encouraging Larry Hogan to run for a third term.
Absolutely. He was a very fiscally responsible governor, and obviously we do not have one right now.
Do you have any insight into Governor Hogan's decision-making process? Is this something he's contemplating?
I don't know. I suspect that he is. Again, if you pay attention to his social media, I think that he believes that he could have a shot, and I think he could. I think he demonstrated to Marylanders that when they were worried about taxing and spending, Larry Hogan's their choice.
You know who might have some insight into this is the chairman of the Maryland Republican Party. You might want to check in with her.
I'll be seeing her later today, probably.
That would be the wife of Congressman Harris. Yes, thank you very much, Congressman. Always good to talk with you.
All right.
Well, that's an interesting insight. Will Hogan run again? That's Andy Harris, the highest profile and most powerful elected Republican in Maryland as of now, encouraging openly Larry Hogan to run for a third term, which would be constitutionally allowed. That would be pretty rich, considering Hogan kind of helped Wes Moore win this last time around by sort of bowing out and not endorsing the Republican candidate. Let's see what develops there. 7:16, let's get to Jamie. After the Trump administration threatened to withhold hundreds of millions of dollars in federal money, Columbia University on Friday acquiesced to their rather reasonable suggestion that students should be protected on their campus and that the pro-Hamas, anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist pro-terrorist protesters should be disciplined and not allowed to take over buildings on the campus. It seems rather reasonable. They also agreed, as the Trump administration suggested, that they should ban masks for the purpose of concealing the identities of people on campus. They were letting people wear masks, and I'm not talking about surgical masks to keep, some invisible make-believe virus from getting to you. I'm talking about, the big headscarves that terrorists wear. They also appointed a senior vice provost to oversee the school's Department of the Middle East, South Asian, and African Study, as well as the Center for Palestinian Studies, to sort of take a look at the curriculum and the people involved with it to make sure that they're not pro-Hamas. Now, this is all good news, except for one person. One person takes huge issue with this. She happens to be the daughter of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the man who the Democrats wanted to be one heartbeat away from the presidency. She is now boycotting Columbia. She's choosing not to go to grad school because of Columbia's outrageous decision. Listen to this.
I got into grad school. I will not be attending starting this fall, though, and I will no longer be attending the university that I originally applied for. I applied for one school. I kind of had my heart set on it. That's what I wanted to do. I'm not going to name the institution, but given recent events, I am not going to give my money, go into debt for support institutions that don't support their students and their right to protest and, speak out for their communities. That's just not where I'm at. Students deserve to be protected. I'm not worried about if I were to be protected or not at said institution. I'm, privileged white woman. But I'm not going to put myself in a position, where I'm giving money or supporting institutions that don't support their students. I know that has nothing to do with the students that currently go there, a lot of the faculty. But, the people at the top are making those decisions, and I decided that I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to do a little bit more research going forward, making sure I'm applying to schools that align with my values, and then maybe start in a year, which is okay. I'm not really in a rush. So, yeah, just figured I'd update you all on that.
Oh, thank God.
Not really in a rush. I can live in the governor's mansion. I don't need to go out and get a job or do anything like that.
This reminds me of those videos that go viral of some woman. There was one that went viral this week where a woman was like, I'm no longer dating a conservative guy. And everybody watched that going, that guy dodged a bullet. It's like Columbia has dodged a bullet. Thank you for deciding not to go to Columbia.
Yeah. Oh, God, how will they ever recover from Tim Walz's daughter not going there? Trust me, there are about 1,000 privileged white women on Columbia University's campus who are carbon copies of that person right there. But you're a privileged white woman, Julie. Do you take issue with her? Sort of.
I'm sitting here in a Target sweater. I really feel privileged. Yeah.
Target's based in Minnesota.
It's not just a Target sweater. It's a Target sweater I bought like 10 years ago. Super privileged.
Well, there it is. I guess Columbia University and other institutions of higher learning around the United States of America need to decide whether they want to acquiesce to the likes of Tim Walz's daughter, who wants to go to grad school there, or actually acquiesce to either the hundreds of millions of dollars of federal money, the criteria that the Trump administration is laying out attached to that money? Or, by the way, how about basic human decency and the rule of law? You know, it's really rich to hear her say, you know, students deserve to be protected. What about the Jewish students?
Yeah. She's fine with it.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet with Tim Walz. And again, I just want to remind you what Columbia University agreed to do. They've agreed to not allow buildings to be taken over by terrorist sympathizers. They've agreed to not allow people to conceal their identity and wear masks around campus. They've agreed not to allow one group of so-called protesters to keep Jewish students from walking across the quad of their
otherwise known as the
university.
minimum. They did the absolute minimum.
The basic civil
Which is
rights
too much
that
for
Tim
her.
Walz's daughter objects to. It's 7:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:37 on this busy Tuesday morning, first day of April. Thanks for letting us be a part of your morning routine. Coming up at 8:05 on O'Connor and Company, Tom Bevan, Real Clear Politics, a preview of today's special elections in Florida and Wisconsin. And then at 8:35, Congressman Jim Jordan, Chairman of Judiciary in the House of Representatives. It's Larry O'Connor alongside privileged white woman Julie Gunlock. Good morning,
Good morning.
Julie.
That's me.
The privilege is all mine, actually. That's my privilege. All right, let's rock it out, shall we? As you know, Kid Rock, in fact, does want to be a cowboy, which, you know, as a fellow Michigander growing up in the suburbs of Detroit like Kid Rock did, we all wanted to be cowboys one time or another. Most of us outgrew it, but not Kid Rock, and nor does he have to. He's a multi-millionaire thanks to his performances, his record sales, his concerts, and so at the opportunity to meet the President of the United States and stand next to him in the Oval Office, he chose to dress the part of a rock star. He wore, how can I describe this? It's, I'm guessing it's leather. It's red. It has two giant spangled eagle heads on either breast.
Doing good.
A giant American flag across the belly. It says 250, which suggests this may be what he's, you know, demoing as the official outfit of the 250th celebration.
Can you
of
just
the
say the
Declaration of
word
Independence.
instead of 250th? I can't say it. Can you say it? The word?
Oh, the
It's not
bisesquicentennial. It's
well done.
I didn't do it right, but it's something like that. It's got musical notes on the cuffs. It's got stars all over it. It's a remarkable
It's fire
thing
engine
to
red.
behold.
It's fire engine red.
It's incredibly patriotic. I don't think I could carry it off. He was there for the signing of an executive order asking for scrutiny on ticket
Fashion?
scalping and
Oh, sorry.
and user fees for ticket sales, which is something that you know. By the way, if you're looking,
Sure.
if you're trying to make tickets more affordable, and you want to go after scalpers, which may be a good way to go, you might want to talk to Ticketmaster too, because their user fees are absolutely outrageous, and they're pretty much operating in a monopoly. That said, I digress because the most important part about this is the outfit. Now, here's the funny thing. People are complaining about this, and they're citing the Zelensky standard. You know, Volodymyr Zelensky
Oh, for crying out loud.
was criticized for not wearing a suit when coming to visit the president and the vice president and the secretary of state and the national security advisor for the purposes of negotiating and working on a peace settlement in a war. And, by the way, ask for more hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars to execute that war. He, of course, showed up in his pretend military fatigues, and he was criticized for that. And so people are saying, this demeans the Oval Office. Just like Zelensky, I thought we didn't like it. Okay, I don't know how to explain this to people better than saying, in case you missed it, Kid Rock is not the head of state of some foreign nation. Yet. He was not in the Oval Office working on a negotiated peace of a war, and he was not asking for hundreds of billions of dollars of tax
He
dollars
was
from the
also there
President of the
talking
United
about
States.
ticket sales.
Yes.
Ticket sales. It's fine.
So it's just
People-
it's amazing.
people need
Of
to
course
calm
it
down.
is. It's amazing. They God, they're so bad at this, and they just like slip right into it.
Yeah,
Daily
just
Beast
humorless.
headline: Kid Rock demeans the Oval Office with bizarre outfit.
Oh, please.
All right. Then they had an impromptu press conference with Kid Rock dressed the way that he was. And what's funny is Kid Rock, Trump asked Peter Doocy of Fox News about this. And here, take a listen to what it sounded like, cut 12.
Did Biden do news conferences like this, Peter? I don't think so.
No. He was never standing next to somebody who looked like they were about to be shot out of a cannon.
Wouldn't have worked out.
But what's funny about that is
that
great.
is a great.
That's a
Actually,
line.
you're right. That was a perfect description. He does look like Evel Knievel about to be shot out of a cannon.
It is an Evel
perfect.
Knievel thing,
Yep.
absolutely. But actually more flamboyant than Evel Knievel. But then what was funny is Kid Rock was starstruck to see Peter Doocy. He was like, "Oh my gosh, Doocy's here!"
That's awesome.
Because these days in the media, the reporters, especially people who actually confront Karine Jean-Pierre and the Democrats, they can become a bit of a rock star in their own right, I suppose. Here is Kid Rock talking about this executive order. This would be cut for 15.
First off, thank you, Mr. President, because this has happened at lightning speed. I know you I want to make sure Alina Habba gets her credit too, because I know she worked very hard on this, but thank you for making this happen so quick. Anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows it is a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for, but more importantly, these bots, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400% or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there would be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set. I'll be the first one to say, and I know the president doesn't like when I say this, but I'm a little overpaid right now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would rather be, a hero to the working class people and have them be able to come attend my shows and give them a fair ticket price. I can't control that right now, so hopefully this is a step to really be able to make that happen.
Well, as somebody who used to work in the industry that relied on ticket sales and service fees and all those things, I will reserve my opinion until I see exactly what this proposed legislation may be. This is a free market, and if people are willing to pay stupid prices for tickets to see something, then let people pay stupid price. Because here's the problem with ticket sales, with supply and demand. When you're talking about a theater or a sports stadium or an arena for a concert, there is an incredibly limited number of supply. You can't add more seats. You're stuck. That's what you've got. And so either if it's a Broadway show, you wait until the seats are available, sometimes a year out, or you pay a premium. That's a free market.
I know we're running up against the hour here, Larry, but I do think there's something about those bots buying up things and really it not being a level playing field, it not being fair to the regular consumer who might want a good seat if all of those are gobbled up quickly by some sort of computer. I don't think that's fair.
I don't disagree with you. That does sort of mess with the free market aspect of this, and it games the system, and that should be looked at. That's why I'm reserving judgment. That said, your argument would be more compelling if you dressed like Kid Rock. It's 7:44.
Later this morning at the Chris Plant Show, the Democrat Party has a new mantra. Burn a Tesla, save democracy. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
It's no secret that men and women have different physical standards in the military. That's non-controversial for most roles, except when you talk about combat roles. As soon as you get talking about women in combat, then you have to start raising some cautionary red flags about the different physical standards because, when the bullets start flying, it doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. You got to get the job done. So yesterday, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth took to social media to announce via video that he's putting a 60-day memo into implementation to review this entire phenomenon. Cut 16 here. Let's listen, and then we'll discuss.
I want to show you one thing. It's a new memorandum that's coming out today on combat arms standard. You see, for far too long, we allowed standards to slip and different standards for men and women and combat arms MOSs and jobs. That's not acceptable. We need to have the same standard, male or female, in our combat roles to ensure our men and women who are under our leaders or in those formations have the best possible leaders and the highest possible standards that are not based at all on your sex, if you're a man or a woman. So I'm signing this memorandum today. The services will review, and soon we will have nothing but the highest and equal standards for men and women in combat.
All right. I'll defer to you first here, Independent Women's Forum Representative Julie Gunlock here on WMAL.
Yeah, look, I've talked to women that are in the military. I work with Megan Mobbs, who is a veteran. She is a national security professional, and she fully supports this act, this move by Secretary Hegseth. And she has said over and over again, this is Megan Mobbs, my colleague, that the most important thing is lethality. In the military, the most important thing is to fight and win wars. That's the point of the military, and there have to be sort of these set standards, uncompromising set standards. And when we compromise those standards for some sort of woke goal, we compromise our lethality and our ability to fight and win wars. So this is very good. We need, everyone to be held to a certain standard regardless of sex. And we need this also because women will not be respected in the military if these standards are lowered.
And obviously I'm pretty close to this with a daughter who's currently serving, and I think it all comes down to MOS, as he was just saying, as the Secretary is saying, the military occupational specialty. If you've got a forward combat role or any kind of combat role, really, with minor exceptions, you have to have the same physical standard, period.
You do.
And by the way, that goes for men. I mean, there are some Marines who are infantry. There are some Marines who are intel. There are some Marines who are, supply officers. And yes, there are certain basic standards that they all have to meet. But obviously, you do. Yeah, if your MOS is infantry for the Marine Corps, everybody in the Marines know that they went through a badass process to get qualified as infantry. That's just the case. My daughter is on a submarine. When you're on a submarine, there are some physical demands, yes, but she can meet those demands, and certainly the difference. If you're a fighter pilot, for that matter.
Have you seen how quickly they have to move through those tiny holes? My God, yes, there are physical requirements for submariners. Whew.
Exactly. And so that's going to be different than if you're actually engaged in hand-to-hand and plowing through rooms. Yeah.
These sort of Biden, Obama, Clinton era sort of accommodations for women hurt women. These things hurt women. They hurt our reputations, and they sort of hurt our record in the military. So this is a good move for women.
7:53.